Good afternoon, everyone. Most of you, I think, possibly in a time zone that makes it an afternoon. It's 6:30 a.m. here. The sun has not risen. I wish that I hadn't. But then I get to see you people, and it makes it all worthwhile. So it's good to be here. Hello, Heather. Seeing you for a
Hello.
little. Oh, hang on. I have not even got my. There we go. Didn't have my sound on. That would have been even more entertaining. I would have just been talking to myself the whole time, thinking that everyone was very quiet. Nice to see a bunch of people coming in. So another week, another Q&A. We can do. Hey, Rick. Hello, Rick. How are you? Dan's there. Amy. Feel free to turn on your cameras and give us a smiling face. As people are doing that, I'll see where we're at with the question. So there's a question, ask the question on the dashboard that you just came through. That's where we can keep track of questions as to where we're going in our discussion today. Remember, as always, you can ask questions all about Obvio and how to do specific things, or maybe you want general questions of is it possible to do something? Happy to explore that. Then there's also questions around digital events in general, something we like talking about. And then often we get onto some production questions as well. Certain gear that you might be using for your events. Always happy to geek out on that sort of stuff too. So that's the general course of where we're at. Have we got any questions in there yet, Heather?
Yeah, we have a few. Shall we get started?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So the first one we have is from John. He wants to know when someone should avoid using Avio. I'm struggling to think of a time. Still, maybe there's a situation when it really would be better to use something else. Grant, you're muted.
Thank you. It's an interesting thing to think about, to ask someone who's trying to market their own product to be able to say, when's the time that I wouldn't use it? I I think there are certain things that are still better. Some types of events that are possibly better to do as live streams, or as webinars and things. But see, the thing is that even as a live stream, I've actually ran a few live streams on Obvio just on the dashboard, and then used the once we've done that section of the event, then the main event moves into Zoom, and we do it that way. And so we sort of have built extra flexibility and unintended advantages, I guess, with the platform. One of those is being able to embed a bunch of things on the dashboard, including a live stream. And so now we've started to use it in different ways. Yeah, the most obvious thing is webinar versus meeting. You know, we're built all around meeting, so we're built in a way that you would have people come in and be able to turn on their cameras and be able to see each other. And we really feel like that is an advantage of Obvio, that we've built a system that can scale beyond 1,000 people doing that. And there's a bit of work that you need to do from a production point of view to make sure that you can get more than 1,000 people into your event. Some people still don't like that idea. They don't like the idea of people being able to turn on their cameras, and they think it can be a distraction and things like that. I don't feel that way. Actually, I feel like when people can see other people engaging, it becomes influential. Like it positively influences people towards engaging more. Um, and so I think that we're in a newer world with even live streams and things that might have been a simple product launch or something like that before, could totally be done in this type of environment, and you can see other people, and maybe you never take questions or allow people to unmute and talk. Now, Zoom's only getting better and better, I think, with some features. There was a couple of years ago we had problems with not being able to mute people. There were certain devices that would come into the meeting and they would be unmuted, and it seemed like it was particular mobile devices that would come in and you could mute them, but if you had lots of people coming in at once, you could have several people come in with their microphone unmuted, and you had to jump on it, and it was a real problem. That's not so much a problem now. We've really, Zoom's gotten better and better with that. So yeah, that works much better. So yeah, I don't know. I think that most events can be used on Obvio. There's ways of doing it. We're trying to make it even easier to get people in. That was always a key thing that we wanted to achieve is very little friction for getting your attendees in, and so a link directly from an email straight to the dashboard, without any passwords or logins or anything, and then another quick click to get into Zoom, I think is still a real advantage of the platform. So I haven't really answered the question, but I will think about it some more. That's good, John. No, I think you're right. There's most things could be adapted or taking advantage of the platform to run whatever type of event you're doing. So, cool. Next question. Thanks, John.
Yeah. So from Iris, sorry, she wants to know, how are Zoom rooms assigned to attendees when I have multiple areas per room for my event? Is this randomized and automatic once all my areas are turned on?
Mm-hmm. So let me answer the question, and then I can go back a little bit. So I have multiple areas per room. So we'll just correct the terminology a little bit. So we've got multiple rooms per area. So, yep, cool. Just making sure that that's how you've got it. And so then the way that Zoom allocates, Obvio allocates people into Zoom, is that it's looking for rooms that are online that have people in it, and so then it's load balancing across those. So the purpose really of rooms within areas is to say, here's one door that we open, and that when you walk into that, it's kind of like sections within a stadium. And so now you walk through this one door, and then you can go to these three sections, and it's going to load balance across those three. So you'll see the numbers we see on our larger events where the numbers generally stay about the same, and so it'll just start trying to keep the numbers about the same. Now, what we do is on some of the events, we might say we've got 3 rooms. We might only really think that we're going to get 2, but we've just got a third one ready for more people to come. And so 2 rooms are filling up. There's 500 in each, and we're thinking about wanting to do breakout rooms of a certain size. Often our breakout rooms, we like to do about 5 or 6 in each breakout room. And because we can have 100 breakout rooms, that means that our total number of people in the room, we only want to be about 500 or 600. And so say these 2 rooms are filling up at about 500, then we could turn on room 3, and now all the people that are coming in are going to go into 3 until that fills up to 500, and then it'll start leveling out again. So this is really designed for a single area, and the same thing is going into those 3 rooms. So from a production point of view, there's several different ways of doing it, but you need to think about how am I getting my video and audio into each one of those rooms. And then the further complexity is how am I, if I want the rooms to be able to hear each other if they're talking, there's some extra complexity there. That's not what your question is about, but I'm just raising that, thinking this is what rooms and areas is about. Now, some people have used rooms, and there's the ability. Let me show you. I'll point to a couple of things here, and we'll see. And then I want to make sure I'm actually answering your question, Iris. Is that what you're trying to do, a larger event with multiple rooms, or are you using rooms in a slightly different way?
No, that would be it. It's going to be a larger event where everyone is going to be seeing the same information, but we're going to have more than 1,000 people. So I know that I need more than one room.
Awesome. Well, congratulations. It's a good problem to have. So I'm just gonna bring up one. I'll point out a couple of things here. Let me see if I have one that's got. All right. I'm going to add it to this one. Let me share here. Okay, so I'm just looking at Zoom areas here, and so this is actually the event that we're in. Let's just say I'm going to do another test area. It's even going to be called test area. And so when you create an area, it automatically creates one room, and probably for most people, that's all you need. An area is the way that we can organize rooms and how people get in. And a room is a meeting; it's a Zoom meeting. So now, what I can do though is if I'm saying, okay, I'm expecting 3,000 people to come to this event, then I want to do. That's going to do more rooms. Yeah, well, let's do 3, so that we'll have a total of 4 rooms. So this is creating those rooms. And so now what we see is the 4 rooms, and remember here that we've got an open toggle that is to open the area. If this is closed, then no one will enter any of the rooms. So that's kind of your gate, your main gate for the whole area. Then you've got these individuals kind of open, and that's how you're starting the meeting for each one. And so when it's open and there's people in it, it will start allocating people as long as this is open here. So there is an option here this is a more recent addition that we had to do for a couple of events. Hopefully that terminology makes sense. It's either balanced across all the rooms that you have, or it overflows. And so if you it'll go to about 900, I believe, and then it will start flowing into the next room. And so there's some advantages to that, particularly for people that when you're not certain that you're going to get 1,000, and you could just, over 1,000, you could have it there ready, but you could have everyone in the same room, and that might help you with chat and things like that. So, but yeah, just remembering about if you're doing breakout rooms, which I encourage, I think it's a good thing to do, to think about in numbers. And so if you do have 900, 1,000 people, you're going to have breakout rooms of 9 or 10, and that might be a bit big, depending on what you're doing. That could be a good number. And so that's how the rooms work, and is literally how we do it on our larger events. We've had areas with 100 rooms in it, and they slowly filled up across them all. Now, the other complexity that we have is when we can say that a room could be like a VIP section, and this is where you can then have rules. So let me take one further step back and say there's a couple of different ways of doing different ticket types. As an example, you could have VIP and general admission, and a really easy way of doing that could be having two separate buttons on the dashboard, and a VIP button goes to a VIP area, and then a general admission just goes to the general admission area. That's a very simple way of doing it. And then you can do visibility rules to restrict who can see which button. And depending on how you've got your registration data and the attendee data, you can say, if they have a group, the ticket group equals VIP, then show them this. Otherwise, show them the general admission. That's one way of doing it. The other way of doing it is where you could make, say, two of these rooms could be VIP within the area, and two of them could be general admission. And so then what you're doing there is, Blue has gone into into fine detail about how to do these rules. But essentially what you're saying here, if you were to do this, is I want to say that here's a rule, a priority rule, saying it's 1. So let's go do this. So I would say these visibility rules are the same across the platform. I'm just going to simply say that I've got a tag and it includes VIP. My keyboard's been playing up. Let's see if that's, there we go. So now what this will do is it works on a priority basis. And so as someone clicks for the very first time, they click the button to the area, it's going to come through and say, in priority order, it's going to say, is their tag VIP? If it is, put them in room 2. If it's not, what we can do here is we can say none, and then we can just do this. And that just makes it super, super clear. So are they VIP? Okay, send them to room 1. No, they're not VIP. Okay, send them to rooms 2, 3, or 4. And it will load balance across those 3. And so only people with VIP will get sent to room 1. This becomes really powerful. The way I set it before with the 2 buttons on the dashboard is a great way of doing it. If that's all it was just 2 separate ticket types, that would be an easy way to do it. But where we have had this on larger events is sometimes where we're doing languages as well. And so if you were to think about this in terms of in terms of the Zoom area here, my test area, if you were to think, I'm just going to name this. So just so when we're looking at rooms, we can put a description in these rooms, which is just helpful for you as you're sorting it out, right? Internal description. It appears nowhere else other than just for you to identify things. And if I was now to do something like this, then this is a way that we could say we could have 3 French rooms and 4 Spanish rooms, and we can allocate people automatically based on registration data. Again, we still need to know what their language is of choice. And now you can see how the complexity of what's going on with a larger group allocating them to specific rooms is really powerful, because you can have a single button on the dashboard and then have a bunch of rules that sort of funnel people into the right room. And it works really, really well. Once again, with larger, 30, 40,000 people events, we can put them in the different rooms that we want, all within an area. So hopefully that answers the basic question that you asked, and that I was looking at some of the more advanced features when it comes to doing areas and rooms. Is there anything else you're thinking of, Iris, in relation to that?
Yeah, so I was helping with this event last year when we put it on. This is the second time that we're putting it on. Last year we had a much smaller attendee list, so we were able to do everything out of one area.
Okay.
So now I'm trying to ask this in a way that I kind of know what I'm talking about, but I really don't. I'm not running any of the technical side of this. I'm just kind of dealing with the dashboard and just like dealing with like the behind the scenes on the platform stuff.
Okay.
For the tech people, the way that we did it last year, it was like a basic Zoom, so to speak, and whatever computer that we were running the main program on was the one that entered the area and started the area.
Yep.
So do we need to have that running on 2 different computers if we have more than one area?
Yes. So, so we're talking rooms in one area too. So we're like, it's all,
Sorry.
I know that. No, you're fine. You're fine. It is confusing. And so, and it's hard to know whether it just is a confusing thing, or if it actually is that we're using words that aren't helpful in the process, and so it's something that we're always thinking about. Do we need to be changing our terminology to help understand it more? But so the answer, that there's some nuance in your question, and that is that there are multiple. You need to have multiple computers because you have multiple rooms, and so now you need a way of getting your video and audio into each one of those rooms.
Okay.
Now, are you intending to do sort of Q&A or have people talk in the main meeting? Do you know?
Not really. There might be like a couple of sections where we do like a little hot seat moment where we'll pick an attendee to speak, but most of the time they're going to be muted and just listening.
Yeah. Okay. So because of that, the reason I ask is that there's extra complexity when if you think about somebody is talking. Let me take a step back. When we're doing multiple rooms like this, we're really just thinking about broadcasting. We think about we're creating a show that essentially exists outside of Zoom, and we're then just pushing that into however many rooms we want. It's just kind of like TV now, right? Like that's just how it's going, because we're switching it, and we might in our studio or whatever it is, we've got our setup and away we go. And now we're just, we have our camera and audio, and that's being pushed into Zoom. That where the complexity comes in is if you want the people within Zoom to be a part of the show somehow, where they're asking questions. And the further complexity is that you've got someone talking in room 1, they need to be heard in room 2. And so now, tech people, production people will totally get this and work out how to do it. And if you wanted it so that someone can talk in room 2 and that room 1 can hear, and even more so if that someone in room 2 can talk to someone in room 1, like they could go back and forth, it's totally possible. There's just a lot of mix minusing, is what it's called, to make sure that you're not sending all the same audio back again. Someone talks and then room 2 is sending that same audio back into room 1, and now you've got a loop and you've got feedback, and it's all bad. But it's possible to do that with the right setup, with the right mixing board and vision mixing and things. You can totally make all that work. There are also other easier ways, perhaps, and that's where you can say we're only going to ever talk to room 1, and so now you're set up to only talk or one room. Where that's where we're going to talk to, and we're not going to jump around between rooms. And that now starts to become a bit easier because you're not trying to manage sound from both of the rooms and video. So because, we're just reminding everyone, Obvio is about getting our attendees into Zoom. And when we start scaling above 1,000 people and need to go to multiple rooms, Obvio's not doing anything to connect those different rooms. That's on you to be able to do that technically and to sort of produce that. And so you have to think, how am I getting it into these multiple rooms? And it can be helpful to think about it in terms of you being at a hotel with lots of different rooms, and you're needing to send that signal into those rooms to make that work. So what you are asking as well is about actually starting those rooms. And yes, the easiest way is that you log in to Obvio on both of those machines, and then you go to room 1 and start on one computer, and go to room 2 and start on the second computer, and away it goes. And you don't need to be logged into Zoom. You just need to be in Obvio. So it's really worth playing around. There's a lot of value in testing and doing sort of little pre events and things like that to really nut those tests out. And there's clever ways of disguising a tech test event as a bonus little pre event or something. You do a little Q&A session. It's just a week before you do a Q&A or something, and even though you might only have 20 people coming to it, you put 10 in one room and 10 in another, and now you test out all that functionality. It's a cool way to do it, and you can give people a bit of a backstage view to your event, and now you feel more confident when you're going into your main event that you've got all that tech working nicely. So hopefully that's helpful.
That sounds great in theory. The event is actually next week, so I am gonna.
So you're doing a test event now.
So well, it is now, yeah. But thank you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, even just pulling in team members and things like that, you don't need many, but trying to simulate. Sometimes we do tests and you've got people in the same room and they're jumping on their phone and they're sort of testing it. It just doesn't give you the same experience. Whereas getting people from home, in a normal setup that they will be, calling on five or six people to be able to do that. And this goes for everyone. Like, use the Facebook group for that. Like, there's the Obvio Facebook group. Just ask, say, hey, we're just doing a little tech check of our own setup. Is there anyone available to jump in? And lots of people will be, because they'll be interested to come and see what you're doing and how you're doing it and learn from it, right? And so there can be a bit of helping each other in that, and see who's available at the time. And you might get half a dozen people that are happy to come and just test out your thing, the day before, perhaps, just to make sure everything's all working nicely. And you can ask them how the process was from the dashboard, and all of that could be really quite helpful. So hopefully there's some ideas there. All right, Heather, got another question?
Yeah, so Rick is on here. He actually put this in chat right when we started, but he wants to know if we can integrate Obvio registration process, all the events, with ClickFunnels 2.0. I'm thinking of our contacts and email broadcasts in the ClickFunnels.
Yes. So let me double check some things. So we have a relationship with ClickFunnels, and we are working on further integration. What we have at the moment is Zapier. Let's see if I can find this page. Yeah. So our Zapier integration will work with ClickFunnels, and the way that our Zapier integration works is that if you're not familiar with Zapier, it's like an internet glue is what I call it. It glues different services together and shares the data between them. So at a higher level, it works from someone signs up in ClickFunnels or goes through that process. That data is sent to Zapier. Zapier sends it to Obvio and says, hey, we've got a new person. Can you add them to the attendee list of my Obvio event? Obvio says, yep, they're now added, and here's the join URL, sends that back to Zapier. Zapier then sends that back to ClickFunnels. ClickFunnels then adds that as a custom field. And now when it comes to emailing your attendees, you've got that data in ClickFunnels, and you can send it as the main registration data. So that's how Zapier kind of glues them together. So now you can do all of your emailing and things through ClickFunnels, and they're going to receive that that join URL for your event. There's a few different ways that you can do it. That's the most automated way, and can work really nicely because of depending on when people register, that will come through automated. Send an email out, and away you go. You could use, depending on how your would it be a free event or a paid event, Rick?
I'm thinking both. We're having an event coming up that is going to be free, but in the future, near future, there'll be paid events.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it sounds great. It sounds like a real plus, but as with technology grows and ClickFunnels is just kind of crawling out of beta, there's a lot of wrestling with the alligator. What I call that is technology trying to tame it. Where I focus on the backside and marketing, but sometimes I'm just in the back room going, wow, this didn't work. Instead of up front with a customer. So you think what's going through my mind, this sounds great, but what's the goal? My goal, my massive action plan is to make sure that my customers get a flawless service, that they don't get dropped by one party or the other. So my clients are very happy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally does. Yep. Yeah, and we have added features to Obvio as an entry level to some of the things that you're talking about, and so for some people, the marketplace module that we've added and broadcasts is is to help people that don't need to necessarily go to ClickFunnels, that offers a whole bunch of extra features that are very cool and valued, but they may not need that. And so we're trying to find the place where we're not trying to compete with ClickFunnels or with Keep or with any other CRM, but we are wanting to offer some of the basic features. And so particularly for free and offering free, or maybe like an upgraded ticket for an event or something like a VIP ticket, then we can do that in the marketplace module, which is also in beta, which you're talking about. But then if there was much more complex process of funneling people and different options and things, then using another service would be the way to do that. But there is our plan is to continue building out direct integrations with the different services. And so currently there's Keep and HubSpot and MailChimp are ones that you can do through Zapier, but we have these direct integrations that just make it, they talk the same sort of language a little bit when you're connecting them together, and it's one less service that it's bouncing through, so it tends to be a bit quicker too. So but yeah, so hopefully that sort of answers the question. It's definitely possible to tie them together and to automate that process. It was sometime when Blue's on again, we can look at some of the specifics of the ClickFunnels. He's done some ClickFunnel integrations with Obvio that have for some larger events, and they've been really successful and worked really well. So it's definitely possible. Yeah.
Good. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Sure. Thanks. Yeah.
All right.
Next question.
The next one is from Iris. Can attendees add captions to their images uploaded to the attendee waterfall or the image waterfall?
Not within Obvio, right? As in, I guess they could totally burn it into the image themselves, as in they make it and add some captions to it. That's a cool idea though. You're thinking about being able to upload the photo and then write in some text, and then that appears on top of it. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, but honestly, it's not. I personally would rather not have it, because to me it just means more oversight to be had over that feature.
More moderation.
Exactly. But I'm kind of glad that the answer is no. So
I was gonna say, I'm glad I could help you by saying no, we can't
yes.
do that.
Thank you.
Cool. Yeah, no, it is just a simple simple image upload, and then it does take moderation clicking to approve them, and then that'll appear in the waterfall. So it does take someone to do that. That's a great task that you can give to even a volunteer. Like there's certain, I think volunteers, we sometimes overlook that, particularly on our large events, but it's really powerful. You give someone a free, access to the event, VIP ticket, whatever it is. They feel special. They're part of the crew, and you can give them just access to do the monitoring of the images, and they moderate those, and it's just something you don't have to worry about. And thinking about that as well, you can also have team on some of these larger events. They do it really well, where there's hundreds of people that are alumni. They've been to a previous event. You invite them back, and they come back for free, and they work on your event for free. Like, it's pretty amazing. And by work, what I mean is they're sitting in your room, and you might give them co-host access in the meeting, and they're just an extra pair of hands that's jumping on someone that's unmuted, or they're, like just extra hanging out in the chat, making comments, checking on people, and they're there to turn on their mic and talk if you had any tech problems, or they can warm up the people as they come in. Like there's so many things that having those people can be really beneficial. So it takes coordination, of course, but it's worth considering. All right, next question.
Yes, so Kristen wants to know, can you describe the Zoom process in terms of where we get the link for attendees to click on for the main stage? Is the main stage Zoom link done in a room that we title the main stage? I suppose if you could please outline this process in general, that would be helpful. She also said the links are not showing up as they do on your screen when she clicks on one of the room numbers.
Okay.
Can I? So with the caveat at this point that Iris's questions have precluded much of that process, the kind of only thing that is still outstanding is that the link, I have no idea where this link is.
Okay, so a link to get people to the dashboard, or once they're on the dashboard, how do they get into the area? Is it both of those, or?
So it's both. So when I was watching you, when I click on the number, there is actually no links that populate beneath the description portion for me on my side in Obvio.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. The links that you saw on my screen is an enterprise plan, and it's specifically for getting other software that's not using the standard Zoom client, which we do for 99% of our shows. And so that was probably a little bit confusing there, because you don't actually need any of those links. So let me show you. First, let me just make sure that you've got an understanding, or you've got a plan in place for how you're getting your join URLs, like your dashboard links to your attendees. Have you what's your current plan for that?
So the dashboard links, by that you mean like our name of company .ovio or .ovi.io? Yeah, that's completely in place. We're using Go High Level, and we have an email marketing in place. The production, all the wires, everything is good. It's just literally this one part with the Zoom links. I am like about to throw myself off a cliff.
Okay. Well, don't do that.
Not today.
Not today. All right, let me show you. It's super simple. It's all kind of in the background, and yeah, as I said, it might have been extra confusing seeing that enterprise screen there that was showing more than anyone really needs to worry about. So let me show you. If we're on the, I'm going to go to the dashboard. You saw how I created that new area, that temp area. When we look at, so this is the button that you use today to join this one. If we look at what we want it to do, we want it to join an area, and we pick our area, main stage. And that is it.
Wow, that was so painfully simple. I'm like wildly embarrassed. Just one kind of follow-up thing. When we do the breakout rooms for them, is it the case that from the main stage, for example, they will automatically be kind of thrown into the breakout room, or do we also have to do links for that?
Yeah, so it's really important to get the clear understanding of what's happening from an Obvio to Zoom point of view, right? So Obvio is getting people into Zoom, and once they're there, it's a standard Zoom meeting, albeit it's an enterprise account, it's got some extra features. It is a standard Zoom meeting. So a breakout room within Zoom, the Zoom meeting, has nothing to do with Obvio. So at that point, you are creating breakout rooms. If somebody joins when you had breakout rooms open, then they're going to join the main room, the main session, and then they would need to then be allocated after that, right? So you're just thinking about it in terms of these buckets or silos, where you've got people from the dashboard, they're now in Zoom, and now you're going to do breakouts, and you're managing all that within Zoom. Breakout rooms doesn't touch Obvio in any way. There's nothing that you need to do in Obvio or can do to have someone assigned into breakout rooms.
Oh, that makes so much sense. So is it then also the case, because it's not touching Obvio, that the breakout rooms will be confined to the 40-minute Zoom limit if we don't have an account, or is it still linking into the Obvio in that way?
Yep.
Yes. Okay.
Yep. Yep.
Thank you.
So, yeah, sure. So, Obvio includes the Zoom licensing, and so when you start a room, that is in the using the Zoom licensing, and it's unlimited. And so now you've got you can have up to 1,000 people in that room. You can have 100 breakout rooms. You've got unlimited recording. You've got full HD. All of these things are all just included and works fine. So yeah, it's interesting. One of the reasons that we keep doing these Q&A calls, apart from that we really love it, is that there's things that we are losing in our lack of marketing, or like there's just some things that are not clear, and that question to me, Kristen, shows how we're failing a little bit in the process of explaining what is Obvio, because it's just some of these things that are just kind of getting lost in the process because we just assume that everyone knows, and it's like, it's not necessarily clear. And so it's helpful when people ask questions like this, and I hope everyone continues to ask what you might think is really simple, basic questions, because that feeds back to us that we need to communicate clearer about what you're getting and how things work. So I'm sorry that you've gone through suicidal thoughts trying to
I just thought I would give a stab at the British humor. That's all.
Well done. Well done. Yeah, but hopefully it calms you to see that it's easier than you thought it may have been. So when you go to launch, and that's where you would launch, I'll just show you that quickly, just so you complete the whole thinking in your mind. When you're in the Zoom areas and you're thinking about the if we go here in the room that you wanted to launch, you literally go, I'm going to hit on open, and then I'm going to hit start, and that start is going to launch Zoom, and that is it. You can see here that's launching, and now that's it. You've got your Zoom meeting. And if you had, go back here for a second, if you have this toggled on, then when people click the button on the main page, they'll come straight into that meeting. So that's how they'll come straight into there.
Beautiful.
Yeah, cool. Now, this is when I can get into a matrix situation, or a inception. It's like I take a deep breath when I'm thinking, am I closing the wrong meeting? I just kicked everyone out. No, it's good. I closed the right one. We're in good hands. All right. What's next, Heather?
We're waiting for more questions to be posted right now.
Oh, look at that. More questions, people. One of the things I was going to show, I think most of you would have seen this by now, but there's these little features that we slowly add. One of these things was an annoyance that we all had, anyone that used it, and that was when you would go somewhere and you would make a change. If you clicked away, you would lose those changes. now when you click away, it does what you might expect it should have done and says, are you sure you want to just leave and discard all those changes, or do you actually want to save it? And so that's been a really nice addition to a recent change that we've had. That is just a simple little feature that we start to pick up on how people are like, I've made a bunch of changes and I had to click away and now it's all gone, and now we've saved that from happening. So I love getting the feedback from people when the frustrations that you're having is really helpful, because we can often do things to help to relieve those frustrations.
Oh, I have something we can talk about, Grant.
Okay, Heather.
You can talk about the scripts feature under design. Someone was asking about that the other day in chat and what they could actually use that for and how to implement it. And I didn't find much on it, so I thought that'd be a good conversation.
Sure. All right. There are several places that you can do custom scripts. So let me use an example like live chat could be a good example, right? Where you want to offer the ability for people to have like a little chat window where they can type to your support team. In order to do that, you need to be able to enter code, some script code into your site, and to be able to make that work and to make it work on Obvio. And there's a couple of different places that it can be done. I'll share my screen 1 second. In the thing that I'm talking about there, like with the live chat idea, there's an option at the bottom of the dashboard to be able to embed HTML, and so you can put a script in there, and that's where we've put live chat script in there before. And so from something like livechat.com, which is what we use, but then there's lots of different chat services that you can use to embed. Livechat.com is just one that we have used a lot. It'll give you a little embed code, and you can copy and paste that into here. And now whenever the dashboard is loaded, it's going to load a little chat like this. This is exactly what I'm talking about. And we have this built into our admin section of Obvio, but you could have it embedded on your page for your event. So that could be one spot that you can do it. Now, in this setup, only the dashboard is where people would see that. And the example of, and the reason that we built out further customization for this is, what if you wanted to offer chat on the login screen, where someone's not able to log in, they're not at the dashboard yet, and they're having trouble logging in, their email might have been incorrect or something, then they want to be able to contact someone. Then having the live chat script on the login page would be really beneficial. And so we can go to scripts, and now we can do the same sort of thing where we're naming what it is, and then putting in the script, and then we can specify which pages we want that to appear on, or we can just say every page, let's have that appear. And now you're tying in, a really a great support, in this example, live chat support feature that appears across your whole dashboard. Sign in, every page it can be appearing on. So that's what scripts is about. It's a technical developer term. People may have been thinking about scripts as in like for a teleprompter, or what people are going to read. So it's a technical thing. Cool. What else have we got? Nothing else? It's going to be an hour call. We TVE 6 is starting. This is why Blue is not here today. They are, I think they've got like a welcome reception on right now, which is why our numbers are a little lower. But I'd encourage you to check out the virtual event on virtual events, number 6. So it really is a great way to see how Blue and Barry run their own event using Obvio, to its full extent. It will inspire you with the content, but it will also inspire and encourage you with how you're doing your events on Obvio as well. So it's certainly worth getting along to check that out. He didn't pay me anything to say that either. Cool. Well, now's the time to speak up. Otherwise, we're going to have an early minute. Looks like it's an early minute, Heather. No other last. Oh, I'm like, is she going to say there's a question? Nope.
There's not usually. This is when they pop up, though, right? As we're about to say,
That's
wait.
right. Yeah, I think our numbers are a little lower right now, so that's what's happened. Great. Well, thank you, everyone, and we will see you next week at 8 a.m. Eastern on Wednesday. We should have Blue back, and we might even get some insight as to how TVE went and some backstories, some behind the scenes stories. Sweet. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.